Park Do-yeon sat in the back row of the auction hall, trying not to look desperate. The hall was small and dirty, located on orbital station Kepler 7, a rusting trade hub that floated at the edge of human-controlled space. Most of the seats were empty. The few people present were junk traders like himself, looking for cheap deals that nobody else wanted. Do-hyun was 34 years old. He had been a salvage trader for 12 years, ever since his father's shipping company went bankrupt. He dealt in scrap metal, broken robot parts, and whatever garbage the big corporations threw away. It was not a proud life, but it was honest work. He made enough money to survive, and sometimes that was all a man could ask for. The auctioneer, a tired-looking woman with gray hair, read from her screen in a bored voice. Lot 7 Gamma. One abandoned repair facility on moon designation KR445. Previous owner, Valorian species, now extinct. Facility sealed for approximately 200 years. Condition unknown. No recent surveys. Sold as is. No returns. No complaints. Nobody raised their hand. The Valorians had been dead for 2 centuries. They were one of those ancient species that had disappeared long before humans reached the stars. Nobody knew exactly what happened to them. Some said war, some said disease, some said they simply left, traveling to another galaxy far away. Whatever the truth, they left behind ruins scattered across 100 worlds. Most of those ruins had been picked clean long ago. Starting bid, 10,000 credits, the auctioneer said. Still, nobody moved. Do-hyun looked around the room. The other traders were studying their phones or staring at the ceiling. An abandoned alien facility on a dead moon in the middle of nowhere. It probably contained nothing but dust and broken machines. The transport costs alone would eat up any profit. But something nagged at Do-hyun's mind. A facility sealed for 200 years meant nobody had searched it yet. Every other Valorian ruin had been explored, cataloged, and emptied. But this one had been forgotten, lost in some bureaucratic filing system until now. His sister's voice echoed in his head. Soman always said he took too many risks. She managed their finances, such as they were, and she constantly warned him about gambling on bad investments. "You are just like our father," she would say, and it was not a compliment. But their father had failed because he trusted the wrong people, not because he took risks. There was a difference. 5,000 credits, the auctioneer said, lowering the price. Anyone? Do-hyun raised his hand. 12,000. The auctioneer looked surprised. So did the other traders. One of them, a fat man with a scarred face, laughed out loud. Sold, the auctioneer said quickly before Do-hyun could change his mind. Lot 7 Gamma goes to the gentleman in the back. Please see the payment office within 1 hour. Do-hyun stood up and walked out of the hall. His hands were shaking. 12,000 credits was everything he had saved over 5 years. If the facility was empty, he was finished. His business partner was waiting outside. Yoon Hana was a small woman with short black hair and oil stains on her jacket. She was the best engineer Do-hyun had ever met, capable of fixing anything from a broken engine to an alien computer system. She was also the most negative person he knew. "You actually did it," she said. "You actually bought that garbage." "It might not be garbage." "It is definitely garbage. The Valorians have been dead for 200 years. Anything valuable was taken long ago." "Not from this place. It was sealed." Hana shook her head. Sealed means contaminated. Sealed means dangerous. Sealed means someone looked inside and decided it was not worth the trouble. Or sealed means forgotten, Do-hyun said. "Come on. We need to prepare the ship." It took them 3 weeks to reach moon KR445. The moon was small and gray, orbiting a gas giant in an empty star system. There was no atmosphere, no water, no life. Just rocks and craters and silence. The facility was built into the side of a mountain. From the outside, it looked like a simple metal door set into stone. Do-Yun landed their ship nearby and suited up for the walk. Hana came with him, carrying her toolkit. Somin stayed on the ship, monitoring their radio signals. She had not spoken to Do-Hyun since he told her about the purchase. Her silence was louder than any argument. The door was 3 meters tall and made of some dark metal that Do-Hyun did not recognize. There was no handle, no keypad, no obvious way to open it, but there was a small panel on the side, covered in Valorian writing. "Can you read it?" Do-Hyun asked. Hana studied the symbols. Basic warning message, something about authorized personnel only. Standard security stuff. She opened her toolkit and pulled out a small device. "Let me try something." She worked for 20 minutes, connecting wires and adjusting settings. Finally, there was a loud click, and the door began to move. It slid upwards slowly, revealing darkness beyond. Do-Yun turned on his helmet light and stepped inside. The corridor was long and dusty. The walls were smooth metal covered in more Valorian writing. Emergency lights flickered on as he walked, responding to his movement. The power was still working after 200 years. That was impressive. He reached another door at the end of the corridor. This one opened automatically when he approached. And then he stopped. He was standing at the entrance of a massive underground hangar. The ceiling was so high that his light could not reach it. The floor stretched out before him, disappearing into darkness. But it was not empty. Row after row of ships filled the hangar. They were beautiful and strange, built in curves and angles that human engineers would never design. Some were small, the size of fighters. Others were enormous, as big as battleships. They stood in perfect lines, silent and waiting, like soldiers frozen in time. Do-Hyun walked forward slowly, his heart pounding. He counted 10 ships in the first row. Then he looked left and right. More rows, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. "Hana," he said into his radio, "are you seeing this?" Her voice came back, shaking. "My God. Do-Hyun, those are warships, Valorian military vessels. They look brand new." Somin finally spoke, breaking her silence. "How many are there?" Do-Hyun kept walking, his light sweeping across the endless rows of ships. "I do not know," he said, "but I think we are going to need a bigger counting system." He laughed then, standing alone in that ancient hangar, surrounded by a fortune beyond imagination. 12,000 credits. That was all it had cost. The greatest discovery in human history, and he had bought it for the price of a used shuttle engine. His father had always said that luck comes to those who keep trying. For the first time in his life, Do-Hyun believed it. For 3 days, they simply walked through the facility, trying to understand what they had found. The hangar was only the beginning. Behind it were maintenance bays, weapon storage rooms, fuel tanks, and living quarters. Everything was clean and functional, as if the Valorians had left yesterday instead of 2 centuries ago. Hana counted the ships carefully, marking each one on her tablet. When she finished, she sat down on a metal crate and stared at her numbers for a long time. 847, she said finally. 847 combat vessels, fighters, destroyers, cruisers, and 3 capital ships, all in perfect condition. Do-Hyun leaned against a wall. "How is that possible? They have been sitting here for 200 years. The facility has its own power source, some kind of reactor I have never seen before. It has been running all this time, keeping the ships preserved. The Valorians built things to last." Somin's voice came through the radio. She was still on the ship, processing the data they sent her. "I have been doing some calculations. Based on current market prices for advanced alien technology, this fleet is worth approximately 2 trillion credits." Do-Hyun almost choked. 2 trillion? Maybe more. These weapon systems are at least 300 years ahead of anything we have. The engine designs alone could revolutionize space travel. We are looking at technology that could change human civilization. Hana stood up. We cannot sell this. You understand that, right? If word gets out about what we found, every government and corporation in the galaxy will come for us. We are 3 people with 1 small ship. We cannot protect this. Do-Yun nodded slowly. She was right, of course. 3 weeks ago, he had been a struggling junk trader. Now he owned enough military power to conquer a star system. The universe was not kind to small people who suddenly became important. But before he could respond, a new voice filled the hangar. It was soft and musical, speaking in perfect human language. Visitors detected. Initiating contact protocol. They all froze. Hana grabbed her toolkit like a weapon. Do-Hyun looked around, searching for the source of the voice. A light appeared in the air before them. It took shape slowly, forming into a tall, thin figure made of blue light. It had no face, only a smooth surface where features should be. It floated a few centimeters above the ground. "I am the keeper," the figure said. "I have maintained this facility for 217 years, awaiting the return of authorized personnel. You are not Valorian. Please identify yourselves." Do-Hyun stepped forward carefully. "My name is Park Do-Hyun. I am human. I purchased this facility at a legal auction." The keeper was silent for a moment. "Human, yes, the young species from the 3rd planet of the Sol system. We encountered your ancestors long ago, before your civilization developed star travel. You have progressed significantly. You know about humans. The Valorians studied many species. Humans were considered promising. Your neural patterns were cataloged and added to the acceptable command list for this facility. You are authorized to access all systems." Hana moved closer, her fear replaced by curiosity. "You said you have been waiting. Waiting for what?" "For someone to come. The Valorians knew they would not survive. This fleet was their final gift to the future. It was meant to help whoever found it." "Help with what?" Do-Hyun asked. The keeper flickered slightly. "I cannot explain yet. There is much data to transfer, and your species has limited context for understanding Valorian history. But I can say this: the fleet was built for a purpose. When you are ready, I will tell you what that purpose is." Do-Hyun looked at Hana. She shrugged, equally confused. A 200-year-old AI offering them cryptic warnings about the future. This was far beyond anything they had expected. "For now," the keeper continued, "you should focus on practical matters. The ships require crews. The systems require operators. You have inherited a great responsibility, but you are not prepared to carry it. Training must begin." Over the following weeks, word about their discovery began to leak out. It was impossible to keep such a thing secret. They needed supplies, equipment, and eventually people. Every person they contacted was another chance for the secret to spread. A dock worker on station Kepler 7 noticed their unusual purchase orders. A fuel supplier asked questions about the strange energy signatures coming from Moon KR 445. A transport captain saw military-grade equipment being loaded onto a civilian ship. Rumors began to spread through the trading networks. Someone had found something big, something valuable, something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The first official contact came from the Terran Colonial Authority, a polite message requesting information about their activities. Do-Hyun ignored it. The second message was less polite. It mentioned security concerns and legal obligations. Do-Hyun ignored that one, too. The third message was a warning. The authority was sending a ship to investigate. They would arrive in 2 weeks. "We need to leave," So-Min said. She had finally come down to the surface, seeing the fleet with her own eyes. "We take whatever we can carry and disappear. Sell the ships one at a time through black market channels. Stay hidden." "That will not work," Hana said. "These ships are too advanced. The moment we try to sell even one, every intelligence agency in the galaxy will track us down. We would be running forever." "Then what do you suggest?" Hana looked at Do-Hyun. "We activate the fleet. We learn how to use these ships. And when they come for us, we show them that we are not easy targets. Do-hyun thought about his father, his grandfather, generations of his family being cheated, exploited, pushed aside by those with more power. The universe worked a certain way. The strong took from the weak. The rich crushed the poor. That was simply how things were. But maybe it did not have to be. He had spent his whole life scraping for survival, accepting whatever scraps the powerful allowed him to have. Now, for the first time, he had something they wanted, something they could not simply take. "Teach me," he said to the keeper. "Teach us how to fly these ships." The keeper's light grew brighter. "Training will begin immediately. You have much to learn, but humans are fast learners. That was one of the qualities the Valorians admired about your species." Hana walked to the nearest ship, a sleek fighter with curved wings. She placed her hand on its surface. The metal was cool and smooth. "I never thought I would pilot an alien warship," she said. "Neither did I," Do-hyun replied. "But I guess we are full of surprises." Somewhere above them, beyond the moon and the stars, the powers of the galaxy were beginning to notice a small disturbance in their careful order. A junk trader and his friends had found something they should not have, and everything was about to change. The Terran Navy ship arrived exactly on schedule. It was a cruiser called the Vigilant, commanded by a woman named Baek Jisoo. She was tall and serious, with gray streaks in her black hair and the kind of eyes that had seen too many battles. Do-hyun met her at the facility's entrance. He wore a simple work suit. She wore a full military uniform with medals on her chest. They were not equals, and they both knew it. "Mr. Park," she said, not offering her hand, "I am here on behalf of the Terran Colonial Authority. We have received reports of significant alien technology on this moon. I need to conduct an inspection." "The facility is private property," Do-hyun said. "I bought it legally. I have the documents. I am aware of your purchase. However, any discovery of advanced alien technology falls under the National Security Preservation Act. The government has the right to examine and, if necessary, seize such technology for the protection of all human colonies." Do-hyun had expected this. He had spent the last 2 weeks preparing for exactly this conversation. "Commander, I respect your authority, but I must decline your request." Jisoo's expression did not change. "That is not an option, Mr. Park. I have 50 soldiers on my ship. I can take this facility by force if necessary. You could try, but I have 400 Valorian warships activated and ready to fire. My engineer has spent 2 weeks learning their weapon systems. She is very talented." For the first time, Jisoo showed surprise. "You are bluffing." "I am not. Would you like a demonstration?" They stood in silence for a long moment. Above them, invisible in the moon's shadow, 2 Valorian destroyers powered up their engines. Their weapons systems came online with a low hum that Jisoo could probably feel through her boots. "You would fire on a Terran Navy ship?" she asked. "I would defend my property. There is a difference." Do-hyun kept his voice calm. "Commander, I am not your enemy. I am a citizen of the Terran colonies. I want what is best for humanity, but I will not simply hand over this fleet to a government that has never cared about people like me." "People like you?" "Junk traders, salvage workers. The ones who do the dirty work while the corporations get rich. The authority has never protected us. Why should we trust you now?" Jisoo was quiet for a moment. Then, unexpectedly, she nodded. "You make a fair point. But my government is not your only problem. Word of your discovery has spread beyond human space. The hegemony of Rix and the consortium of 12 have both expressed interest. Their ships are already on the way." Do-hyun felt his stomach tighten. The hegemony and the consortium were the 2 largest alien powers in this region of the galaxy. Humans had treaties with both, but those treaties were based on humanity being weak and unimportant. A human with a fleet of advanced warships changed everything. How long until they arrive? 3 days, maybe less. Jisoo stepped closer. Mr. Park, I understand your distrust. But if you refuse to cooperate with us, you will face them alone, and they will not negotiate. They will take what they want and leave nothing behind. What do you suggest? Give us access to the fleet. We will protect you. In return, you will receive a fair payment and recognition for your discovery. Do-hyun almost laughed. Protection. You mean control. And the fair payment will be whatever fraction of the fleet's value your government decides to offer. No thank you. Then you are a fool. You cannot fight the entire galaxy. Maybe not. But I can make taking this fleet very expensive. Expensive enough that maybe they will decide it is not worth the trouble. Jisoo stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned and walked back toward her ship. You have 3 days to change your mind. After that, I cannot promise what will happen. Do-hyun watched her leave. His hands were trembling, but he kept his face still. Showing fear would be the same as losing. That night, he gathered his small team in the facility's control room. Hana had dark circles under her eyes from too many sleepless nights. Soman was pale but determined. The keeper floated nearby, watching silently. We need allies, Soman said. We cannot fight everyone alone. Who would ally with us? Hana asked. We are nobody. 3 humans with stolen alien ships. Not stolen. Inherited. Do-hyun paced across the room. The keeper said the fleet was meant as a gift to whoever found it. That is correct, the keeper said. The Valorians intended for this technology to benefit worthy species. They believed humans had potential. Then we need to share that benefit, So-min said slowly. Not with governments, not with corporations, with people. Do-hyun stopped pacing. What do you mean? The human colonies are scattered across dozens of systems. Most of them feel ignored by the Terran Authority, the outer colonies especially. They struggle for resources while the inner worlds grow fat. If we offered them a place in this fleet, they would come, Hana finished. Colonists, workers, people like us who have never had power or voice. They would come by the thousands. Do-hyun looked at the holographic display showing the moon's surface. 3 days until the alien fleets arrived. 3 days to find a solution that did not end with all of them dead. Send out a message, he said. Use every communication channel we can access. Tell the colonies what we have found. Tell them we are looking for crew members. Anyone willing to learn. Anyone willing to fight for something better than what they have. And what about the authority? Soman asked. They will not like this. They already do not like us. Let them complain. The message went out that night. It spread through mining stations and farming colonies, through orbital platforms and frontier outposts. A junk trader had found a treasure beyond imagination, and he was offering to share it. Within hours, the responses started coming. Volunteers, dreamers, desperate souls looking for a chance at something more. They packed their bags and booked passage on any ship heading toward Moon KR 445. When the alien fleets arrived 3 days later, they found the moon surrounded by hundreds of civilian transports. People were flowing into the facility by the hundreds, learning to operate alien technology, training to become soldiers and pilots and engineers. The hegemony ambassador demanded that Do-hyun surrender immediately. Do-hyun's response was simple. You could destroy this moon, but you do not know where the fleet self-destruct system is located. I do. So let us talk like reasonable people. The ambassador sputtered and threatened, but he did not attack. Because for the first time, a human had something the galaxy wanted, and he was not afraid to use it. The Free Salvage Compact was born in a storage room on Moon KR-445. Do-Yun stood before a crowd of 300 humans, all of them volunteers who had answered his call. They were miners and mechanics, farmers and factory workers, the forgotten people of a dozen different colonies. "We are not creating an army," Do-Hyun told them. "We are creating a family. A group of people who look out for each other, who share what we have instead of fighting over scraps. The galaxy has never seen anything like us before. They will not know what to do with us." The crowd cheered. For most of them, this was the first time anyone had offered them something other than hard work and low pay. Hope was a powerful thing. Over the following months, the compact grew. Hana trained engineers in every secret of Valorian technology. Pilots learned to fly ships that moved faster and turned sharper than anything human engineers had ever built. Weapons experts studied alien cannons that could cut through the strongest armor. Soman handled the organization. She created supply chains, established communication networks, and managed the growing flood of volunteers. Every day brought new faces, new skills, new possibilities. And then there was Baek Jisoo. The Navy commander had returned to Terran space after their first meeting. But 3 months later, she came back. This time, she came alone, in a small personal shuttle with no weapons. Do-Yun met her at the landing pad. "Commander, I did not expect to see you again." "I am no longer a commander," she said. "I resigned my position." "Why?" Jisoo looked tired, older than before. "Because the Terran Authority is planning to attack you. They have made a secret deal with the Consortium of 12. Human soldiers will fight alongside alien warriors to take your fleet. I refuse to be part of it." Do-Hyun studied her face. "And you expect me to trust you? For all I know, this is a trick." "It is not. But I understand your suspicion." She reached into her bag and pulled out a data chip. "This contains all the information about the planned attack. Fleet positions, timing, strategy. Everything I know." Do-Yun took the chip. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you were right. The Authority does not care about people like us, like me. I spent 20 years serving them, and they threw me away the moment I questioned an order." She met his eyes. "I want to help. I want to fight for something that actually matters." It took time, but eventually, Jisoo became part of the compact. Her military experience was valuable. She knew how to organize soldiers, plan battles, and think like an enemy. Within weeks, she became their military commander. The attack came 6 months after Do-Yun first opened the facility doors. A combined fleet of Terran and Consortium ships emerged from hyperspace near Moon KR-445. There were over 200 vessels carrying enough firepower to destroy a planet. The commanders expected an easy victory. They expected frightened civilians and untrained crews. They were wrong. 200 Valorian interceptors rose from the moon's surface. They moved in perfect formation, faster and more agile than anything the enemy had ever seen. Hana had spent months optimizing their systems. The pilots had trained until they could fly in their sleep. The battle lasted 11 minutes. The Valorian weapons cut through enemy shields like they were made of paper. The interceptors danced between cannon fire, impossible to hit. One by one, the attacking ships were disabled or destroyed. When it was over, the compact had lost 8 ships. The enemy had lost 147. Do-Hyun stood on the bridge of the Inheritance, the largest capital ship in the fleet. Through the view screen, he watched the enemy fleet retreat in chaos. Escape pods scattered in every direction. Burning wreckage drifted through space. Hana stood beside him. "We won," she said, sounding surprised. "We won," Do-Hyun agreed. "What happens now?" That was the question. They had proven they could fight, but fighting was not enough. Sooner or later, the galaxy would send a larger force. They could not win forever. Jisoo walked onto the bridge. "We are receiving messages from a dozen human colonies. They want to know if we accept new members." "How many?" Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Word of the battle is spreading. People are calling us heroes. Heroes. Do-hyun almost laughed. He was a junk trader who had gotten lucky. But maybe that was what heroism really meant. Being in the right place, making the right choice, and refusing to back down. "Accept everyone who wants to come," he said. "We have plenty of ships to crew." Over the following weeks, the compact transformed from a small group into a movement. People came from every corner of human space, scientists and soldiers, teachers and technicians, families looking for a better life. They came because they had heard stories about a place where ordinary people mattered. The alien powers watched with growing concern. A united humanity was something they had never considered possible. Humans were supposed to be divided, weak, easy to control. This new organization threatened everything they understood, but they did not attack. Not yet. The battle had shown them that victory would come at a terrible price, and so an uneasy peace settled over the region. The Compact controlled a growing territory around Moon KR-445. The alien empires watched from a distance. The Terran Authority pretended the whole situation did not exist. One night, Do-hyun sat alone in the facility's original control room. The keeper appeared beside him, its blue light soft in the darkness. "You have done well," the keeper said. "The Valorians would be pleased." "Would they? I am not sure what we are doing. We won one battle. That does not mean we can change anything." "Change takes time, but it begins with moments like these. Small victories that grow into larger ones." The keeper paused. "There is something I must tell you. Something about why the fleet was truly built." Do-hyun looked up. "You said you would explain when I was ready. You are ready now. But I warn you, the truth is difficult. It will change everything you think you know." Do-hyun thought about his journey, from a failing junk trader to the leader of a movement, from owning nothing to commanding a fleet worth trillions. Nothing in his life had prepared him for this, but he had learned to face difficult truths. That was what survivors did. "Tell me," he said. And the keeper began to speak of darkness beyond the stars. The journey to the Valorian homeworld took 3 months. Do-hyun led a small fleet of 20 ships through regions of space that no living species had visited in thousands of years. The stars here were old and cold, their light dim and red. Hana spent most of the journey studying the navigation data the keeper had provided. The coordinates led to a planet at the very edge of the galaxy, where space grew thin and strange. Even the Valorian records called it a dangerous place. "Why did they live so far from everything?" Soman asked one night. They were gathered in the Inheritance's command room, watching the stars drift past. "They did not always live there," the keeper explained. "The Valorians originally came from the galaxy's center. They were an old species, older than most. For millions of years they watched over younger civilizations, guiding them, protecting them." "What happened?" Do-hyun asked. "The absence happened." The keeper's form flickered, and suddenly they were surrounded by images. Holographic displays showed a wave of darkness moving through space. Stars vanished as it passed. Planets crumbled to dust. Everything it touched simply stopped existing. "The absence is not a species or a weapon. It is a phenomenon, a wave of entropy moving across the universe. It consumes everything in its path, matter, energy, even time itself. Nothing escapes." "Where does it come from?" Hana asked. "We do not know. Perhaps it has always existed. Perhaps it is simply the universe dying, one piece at a time. The Valorians fought against it for 1,000,000 years. They developed technology to slow its advance. They sacrificed countless lives to protect others, but in the end, they knew they could not win." The images changed. Now they showed the Valorians themselves, tall, graceful beings with silver skin and 4 arms. They moved through crystal cities, worked in vast laboratories, lived lives of beauty and purpose. 50,000 years ago, the Valorians made a decision. They could not stop the absence, but perhaps they could give others the tools to continue the fight. They scattered across the galaxy, hiding fleets and weapons and knowledge in places where younger species might one day find them. "And then?" Somin asked softly. "And then they walked into the absence, every last one of them. They chose to end themselves rather than watch everything they loved be consumed." The room was silent. Do-hyun thought about what he had just heard. An entire species sacrificing themselves so that others might have a chance. It was the most heroic and tragic story he had ever imagined. "The fleet I found," he said slowly. "It was meant to help us fight this thing?" "Yes, but the fleet alone is not enough. On the Valorian homeworld, there are blueprints for a weapon they never completed, a device that could push back the absence, maybe even stop it permanently. But building it would require resources beyond anything a single species could provide. It would require cooperation on a scale the galaxy has never seen." 3 days later, they reached the Valorian homeworld. It was beautiful and terrifying. Crystal towers rose from purple forests. Silver oceans reflected the light of 3 small moons. But everything was empty, no movement, no sound, just silence and memory. They landed near the largest city and walked through streets that had not felt footsteps in 50,000 years. The buildings were intact, preserved by the same technology that had protected the fleet. Inside them were libraries, laboratories, homes, the entire history of a civilization waiting to be discovered. The blueprints were in a chamber at the city's heart. They showed a device the size of a small moon, powered by energy sources that human science could not explain. Building it would take decades, maybe centuries, but it could work. Do-hyun stood in that chamber, surrounded by the dreams of a dead species, and made his decision. He recorded a message. It was sent on every frequency, translated into every language, broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. His face appeared on screens in alien palaces and human colonies, in corporate boardrooms and military command centers. "My name is Park Do-hyun. A year ago, I was a junk trader. Now I lead the Free Salvage Compact, but that is not important. What is important is what I am about to tell you." He explained everything. The absence, the Valorian sacrifice, the weapon that could save them all. He showed the holographic recordings, the blueprints, the evidence. "I am not asking you to trust me. I am not asking you to like me. I am asking you to look at this information and make your own decision. Because what is coming does not care about our wars or our politics. It does not care about humans or aliens or the differences between us. It will consume everything unless we stop it." He paused, took a breath. Humanity was once a small species, weak, ignored. We survived because we learned to adapt, to cooperate, to face impossible odds and find a way forward. Those qualities are not unique to us. Every species in this galaxy has overcome challenges to reach the stars. Now we face the greatest challenge of all, and we can only win if we face it together. The message ended. Do-hyun stood alone in the silent city, waiting. The first response came from a minor alien power, a species of traders who had always been friendly to humans. They offered ships and resources. Then came another response, and another. Within a week, delegations began arriving at the Valorian homeworld. Former enemies sat across tables from each other, discussing logistics and timelines. Engineers from a dozen species studied the blueprints together, finding solutions that none of them could have discovered alone. It was not easy. Old hatreds did not disappear overnight. Negotiations broke down and resumed dozens of times. But slowly, impossibly, an alliance began to form. Hana found Do-hyun one evening, standing on a balcony overlooking the Crystal City. Ships filled the sky above, more arriving every hour. "You actually did it," she said. "I did not do anything. I just told them the truth." "You gave them hope. That is more important than truth sometimes." Do-hyun smiled. Maybe. Or maybe they were always ready for this. They just needed someone to go first. Below them, humans and aliens worked side by side, building something greater than any of them could imagine. It would take generations to complete. There would be setbacks, failures, sacrifices. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but for the first time in the history of the galaxy, every living species was moving in the same direction, together. And it had started with a junk trader who bought an empty garage for 12,000 credits. That was the thing about humans. They never knew when to quit. Sometimes that was exactly what the universe needed.